This week we are talking about a topic that we talk about all the time, but I am going to dive a little bit deeper, okay? So we're talking about showing up imperfectly, but I'm really talking to you about coming back home and what happens when we fall off. When was the last time that you told yourself that you need to get back on track? And that might have been this morning. It might have been after vacation or after a holiday, stressful week at work. Maybe it was when one meal turned into an entire weekend, and maybe even when that turned into a month. All of us know exactly what that phrase feels like. I need to get back on track. It is something I've heard you guys say many times. It's also something I've said to myself. But today we are going to work on reframing that. Getting back on track is important, but we have accidentally created this picture in our minds that says if we ever leave the track in the first place, we have failed. And I do not believe that is true. I don't think anybody wakes up one morning and says, you know what? I hope I stop taking care of myself today. Nobody is like, I really hope I lose all of my routines. I hope I stop feeling good. I hope I stop believing in myself. That is not what happens. We know that's not what happens. Life happens. Work gets busy, the kids need you, you get sick, a parent gets sick, your relationship changes, you lose somebody, you stop sleeping, you're overwhelmed, you start surviving instead of living. Survival is going to be a key conversation throughout this call. Somewhere in the middle of all of that, your habits quietly slip away, not because you stopped caring about them, but because you were carrying so much. And again, it becomes about survival, and we start to kind of cave in. We stop taking care of ourselves, and we shed the non-necessities. Our brain is really good at looking at the necessities. And I was just on a call. That's part of why I'm late to this call, is that I was just on a fantastic call with one of you guys. And we were talking about how the brain only has so much room. And you have created a list of necessities in your life, showing up for your kids, showing up at work, showing up in your relationship, cleaning the house, taking care of your pets, animals. All of those things are non-negotiables. Those are key to survival, right? If you don't show up to work, you don't make money. If you don't make money, whether you realize it or not, this is what your brain is saying. If I don't show up to work, I have no money. If I have no money, I have no food. I have no home. There's a lot that goes into that. Most of the time when someone falls off, they are not describing failure. They are describing being human. And the last time that you felt disappointed in yourself, think back to that. Okay, really think back to that. Whether that was like 5 minutes ago, 5 days ago, 5 months ago. When was that? Maybe you stopped going to the gym, you stopped eating as well, meal prepping, tracking your food, taking walks, stopped drinking enough water. Maybe you stopped believing that you could actually do this. Whatever it was, I want you to think about what was happening in your life at that time. What was your life requiring of you? What were you carrying? What did you think you were trying to survive? Because let's pretend we're just sitting over a cup of coffee. If I ask you, why did this happen? Why do you feel like this happened? It wouldn't be because you just didn't care. You wouldn't say that. You wouldn't say, I just stopped caring. No. You care a lot. You wouldn't be listening to this call. You wouldn't be ruminating on it, and you wouldn't be creating judgments of yourself around it if you didn't care. You care a lot. But you'd probably say things like, I felt like I was drowning. I was exhausted. I did not have enough time in the day. I was trying to keep everything and everybody else afloat. I kept thinking I would start over tomorrow or next week, and I just didn't know how to do it because I did not have any air to breathe. That's not the same thing. You failing, you not caring, is not the same thing as I was drowning. One is saying, I did not care. The other is saying, I was overwhelmed. And one is attacking your character and who you are. One is saying, I'm not good enough, I'm not strong enough, I'm not brave enough, I can't do this, I always fail, I suck. And the other is describing circumstances. Very, very different things. We start believing that struggling means that we're failing, and that having a hard season means that we lack discipline, or that needing a break means we aren't committed. But over time, we stop judging our choices and we just start judging ourselves. That is one of the saddest things that I see as a coach. Is it's not women who overeat or skip workouts or lose momentum. Those things suck, but those things happen. What really breaks my heart is listening to incredible women convince themselves that those moments define who they are. You guys are badass women who have accomplished so many things in your life. You do not take no for an answer in any other category. You fight like hell. and you're telling yourself, I always quit, I have no discipline, I'll never change, I've ruined everything. Think about how quickly we go there. After a hard week, suddenly we are questioning our entire identity. You are pushing through in so many areas of your life, and the the last thing in is the first thing out. So if you have created a space where taking care of yourself feels like another chore, where tracking your food, what you're eating, going to the gym, all of those feel like things added to the list that are not necessities, of course your brain goes, I don't have the ability to survive what you're requiring of me and keep these things on board. I have to dump something. And your brain says, I'm going to dump that thing that you keep telling me is a chore. It's just extra stuff we have to do. It's like laundry or doing the dishes or dusting. This is just extra crap I don't need. When we're framing this relationship with ourselves as an extra chore, of course, that is going to be the first thing to go. But when we are framing this as little gifts back to ourselves to get us out of survival mode or to remind ourselves that we are a whole person, those little things do not need to require 5 hours. They don't require you going to the gym for 3 hours in the morning. They don't require very much of you at all, other than being curious about where you can pour back into yourself. Because pouring back into yourself is typically one of the only ways that we can remind ourselves that we aren't surviving, we aren't in survival mode. We're safe. Yes, there's a lot on the plate. Maybe we're going through guilt or grief or sadness or hardship or a lot of stuff at work, or we are just drowning. But when we pour a little bit back into ourselves, 5 minutes somewhere, we remind ourselves that it's worth continuing to try to breathe. I have never looked at someone who is struggling and thought, wow, they are failing. It's never crossed my mind. I look at you guys and I think, they are tired. They are hurting. They are carrying so much. They have forgotten how capable they are. So why is it that I can easily see that in someone else, but when it is us, when we are drowning, we become the harshest, most critical voice in the room? That's the question that we're really going to explore today. Not just the surface level of that, but what does that really do? What is our brain really saying there? Why do I believe that falling off or having a bad day says something about who I am? I think we can answer that question, and if we can, we can start changing things. So we are not going to focus on how to be perfect or how to nail all of this stuff. We're going to focus on how to be imperfect and accept that. Because perfect does not exist. We've talked about this time and time again. We talk about it every week. What I hope that we do together is explore and understand why our brain is holding on to guilt so tightly, and why starting over feels so heavy, and why we wait until Monday, or why we keep believing that we have to earn another chance to take care of ourselves. We're hopefully going to stop thinking of ourselves as someone who keeps falling off the path and start seeing ourselves as someone who is simply learning the way home, learning that we matter enough to take care of ourselves. This story, it's not about failure. It is about how to return back. And I know that we've touched on this time and time again, but we're going to go a little deeper this time. Your brain is not trying to keep you stuck. A lot of us believe that. And I used to have that narrative. This is who I am. This is where I am. It is a concrete version of me. I suck. I'm not good enough. Those feelings would pop up all the time. That belief, once I shed that, completely changed the way that I look at this whole journey. There is a version of me that definitely thought something was wrong with me. Maybe you felt this way too. Why do I keep doing this? Why do I always wait until Monday? Why can't I start on Monday? Why do I know exactly what to do and I still don't do it? Why can I show up for every single person in my life and somehow not show up for myself? And it felt like a constant battle in my own head. Part of me wanted so desperately to move forward, and the other part kept holding me back. And I could not understand why until I learned a little bit more about how our brains actually work. And it gave me so much compassion for myself, because what I realized was that our brains wake up every single morning with one job: not to help you lose weight, help you hit your protein, or chase your dreams. So much simpler than that. It is just, how do I keep my human safe today? How do I keep this thing that I am responsible for alive? That is what it's designed to do. It is designed to keep you alive. It does not care if you thrive. It does not care if you're happy. It does not care about any of that. Its job is to keep you alive. Your brain does not define safety the same way you do. And hopefully, you are going to define safety as growing and changing and taking care of yourself and living a big life. And your brain is going to define safety as familiar. What do I know? What can I control? Not healthy or happy or successful, familiar. Every time you decide to do something new, like starting to lift weights or track your food, set boundaries with people, leave a relationship, apply for a new job, post that video, or start a business, or walk into a gym where you don't know anybody, your brain is not going to be excited. It is not going to celebrate. It is going to pause. It is going to freak out because you are entering unfamiliar territory. And that means these things are uncertain. This means that our stress response is going to be activated, and we are more likely to avoid those situations where we don't know the outcome. From your brain's perspective, uncertainty, we have to be cautious because your brain can't predict what comes next. It can't keep you alive if it doesn't understand. So it whispers, maybe tomorrow, maybe after this vacation, maybe when things calm down, maybe when I know a little bit more, maybe when you're more confident. But we can't get to that place of confidence if we don't practice there. Sometimes your brain is really good about making waiting feel so responsible. Oh, don't start today. You've had a long week. You're exhausted. We'll wait until Monday. We'll really commit. We'll do it perfectly. We'll meal prep before we start. We will get organized. We will start fresh. All of that sounds so logical. It makes so much sense, so mature. But then Monday passes, or the planning doesn't happen, or the meal prep doesn't happen, or it does happen, but still something gets in the way. The something is the uncertainty. This is really important because waiting feels safer than trying. That's what your brain is supposed to do. It is supposed to feel like that. But you are the grown-up. You are driving the ship. You are no longer a 2-year-old. You are safe in trying. Nothing is going to kill you when you try. You have to keep reminding your brain of that, which isn't easy, but this is where perfectionism sneaks into our lives. We tell ourselves that we're going to wait until we feel ready. But we are actually usually just waiting until we feel safe. Not ready, but safe. If I can do it perfectly, then this won't hurt. If I can do it perfectly, then I won't look foolish. If I can do it perfectly, then, things will go great. If I lose 10 pounds first, I won't feel judged. If I learn a little bit more, if I do a little bit more research, I won't make as many mistakes. If I have more time, then I'll be less likely to mess up. And perfection starts to feel like protection. Perfection starts to feel like you can make this as safe as possible, as smooth as possible, and you can start to move forward. But we never get that. That is not an option. I've never met someone who felt perfectly ready for anything, any big jump, any risk, any new identity. I've never met somebody who feels like they are perfectly ready. And every meaningful thing that you've ever done, I can guarantee you did not feel perfectly ready for. But you wanted it enough to step forward as imperfect, to learn as you go. And that's the whole trick of this all, right? Is that we are constantly learning and growing and evolving, but only if we give ourselves permission to start, only if we give ourselves permission to explore it, only if we step forward. The other thing about our brain that is super fascinating is that we can have a string of amazing days and then one hard one, and our brain can get so obsessed with the hard one. Even though you had 20 great days, you had a string of a few weeks where you just nailed it. But that hard day means so much. You can have weeks of showing up or weeks of drinking your water or getting your walks in or making progress, and then you can have one hard weekend and suddenly your brain goes, see, told ya, I knew this wouldn't last. I always do this. I suck. I'm the worst. I don't know what's wrong with me. That's not because you're negative. It's because your brain is naturally giving more attention to mistakes because those are potential threats than it does to successes. Successes are great, blah, blah, blah. But your brain is focused on threat. That's a negativity bias. Our brains do that with most things. And it happens because we are scanning for danger. And that helps you stay alive. But your brain also starts treating one imperfect weekend like it's more important than the previous successful days. And that's not true. We're always working on this. We ask you guys every single week, tell me about your week. And you might say, it's terrible, or I'm really struggling to find a win. And when we look at it together, it's something like you hit your protein 5 days out of 7 days. Or you got 3 workouts in. You walked every day. You drank more water than you did last week. But Friday night got away from me. The weekend was really hard. And then Friday becomes the entire story. You go to check in, and you can't get past that little hiccup. You can't get past that hard day. And it's okay. That's very natural. But that is not reality. That is your brain zooming in on one page and forgetting the rest of the book. We've done this in different areas of our life, but specifically in this area where it feels, we've talked about this already, but it feels like these are chores that are not mandatory. It feels like this is about our character instead of our choices. And it feels like this confirms an identity belief that we have about ourselves, which is that I will never be able to succeed at this. That is why when things don't go well, or when you have a hard week, we always ask you, what are you proud of? What were your wins? Not because we want to ignore the hard stuff or lean into toxic positivity or pretend everything is fine, but because we are trying to retrain your brain. If you do not seek out what is going well, your brain won't either. Not because it's broken, but because it is trying to protect you. If you never slow down enough to notice your wins, you will build an identity around your mistakes instead of your growth. Instead of believing that every uncomfortable feeling is a sign to stop, what if we take that as evidence that you are stepping into something new? If your brain is if you're getting butterflies in your stomach, what if that is not proof that things are going poorly? It is just proof that you're growing. Proof that you are uncomfortable and excited because it's unfamiliar. Learning is never comfortable. You just don't remember learning. You don't remember when you were 4 and learning your ABCs was challenging, or when you had to do popcorn reading and read out loud and you got anxiety about it. When you are moving towards a goal, it isn't your job to eliminate that feeling of excitement or overwhelm. It is to stop interpreting that as danger and to start acknowledging that you are actually safe in that. Once you understand that that's what your brain is trying to do, you are going to stop arguing with yourself and taking that on as an identity. You can start kind of talking back to yourself and saying like, oh, there we go again. I see you trying to keep me safe. Thank you so much. You are so sweet. I've got this. I'm good. Don't worry. Nothing about this is going to kill us. We've got this. I know that it's scary to walk into this gym today, but we've got this. I know that it is hard to make a healthy food decision right now, but we've got this. Because you're going to stop interpreting fear as a stop sign. Sometimes it's just evidence that you are walking towards a life that you've never lived before, and that is really cool. When we start understanding how our brains work, we also notice something else. And it's not just that our brain is trying to protect us from starting. Our brains are also trying to convince us that yesterday deserves more attention than today. You miss a few workouts, suddenly you're not thinking about today's workout anymore. You're thinking about the 3 that you already missed. Or you have a weekend where your nutrition is off. It's not quite what you wanted it to be. And instead of thinking about breakfast on Monday, you are replaying Friday night over and over and over. Or you stop tracking your food for a week, and instead of opening the app, you just keep thinking, I can't believe I let myself stop. What is wrong with me? Why can't I get back to it? Instead of just opening the app. It's like we become historians. We become experts at documenting all of the ways that we wish things had gone differently. And in the middle of replaying yesterday, today just slips by. Today becomes all the reasons that you weren't good enough in the past and not the little ways you can be moving forward today. How much of your life is spent arguing with someone or something that has already happened? Not because you want to, but because you are stuck there, because you felt guilty. And if you felt guilty long enough, somehow you could change the outcome. That has never worked. It will never work. Guilt has never changed the past. It just steals from the present. And I say this, when I would struggle with binge eating, that was really hard for me because I would binge and then I'd be so frustrated with myself that I would spend the next few days wallowing in this little shame spiral. It'd take me like 3 days of wallowing. Whereas if I had just said, crap, I had a really bad day with food, and woke up the next day and broken the rear view mirror off, that's none of my business, just woke up the next day and tried again, then yeah, I would have made a poor food decision, but I would have skipped the 5 to 7 days of beating myself up, and I would have actually been moving forward. Typically, the thing that we're upset about is not what keeps us stuck. It's the days and days of ruminating on why we're not good enough and what that says about our character. I will have you guys tell me a lot of times, like, I've been off track for 2 weeks, and I won't always want to ask, not in a rude way, but kind of like, okay, what are we going to do? Like, what could we do about those 2 weeks? It's already happened. Genuinely. We can't go back. We can't rewrite them. We can't punish ourselves until they disappear. We can't. Those days are already lived. They're spent. They're gone. But this is what's cool about that. It's incredibly freeing because you don't owe yesterday anything. You don't have to pay it back. You don't need guilt or shame. The only day asking anything of you is today. You cannot premeditate tomorrow, and you cannot undo yesterday. You can just show up for the 24 hours in front of you. That's one of the biggest mindset shifts that I have ever had, and it is so important because it keeps you where your feet are. And I know I always lay into you guys about this. I always talk to you about how it's really just the 24 hours in front of you. It's the one decision you're making right now that you have control over. You don't get to assume that because you made a good decision now, you're going to make the next 30 good decisions. But you also can't assume that because you made a decision you're not super satisfied with yesterday, that that's who you are. You only get to make the choice for what's standing in front of you. And I actually was in the shower. You guys know I do my best work. And I was thinking about one of my friends who, he's gotten in some hot shit lately for stuff he did in the past. And it wasn't about him that I was thinking, but I was thinking about this idea that we get so fixated on who we were in the past. And all we have to do, yeah, it happened, and you can own that. But you get to just wake up and decide to stop being shitty. Shitty to yourself, shitty to other people. Every day, you could just wake up and decide to move differently. So if you have skipped workouts, right, or overeaten or fallen off, you get to wake up today and decide to stop being shitty to yourself. Okay, that happened. That did happen. But the only way to change that is for me to decide to wake up today and stop being shitty. It's not stop being shitty because I'm not good enough, but because I'm treating myself like shit. I'm being mean to myself over stuff from the past that I can't control. That will always be who I am if that's all I think about. If all I think about is the days that I fall off, or the fact that if I skipped a workout, I must need to do extra workouts. If I overate, I must have to undo what I've done. If I fell off, I must need to suffer a little bit so that I can deserve to start again. You are stuck there. You're staying stuck there. Whereas you could just come up for air and realize, oh, I can stop being shitty to myself. I can move forward. You do not have to earn your way back. You did not have to make up for lost time. That is not recovery. That is just punishing yourself. And punishment is not a sustainable form of self-care. Your body is not keeping score the way that you think it is. Your body is not mad at you if you miss a workout. Your body does not care if you had crappy food, especially if you wake up the next day and decide that you are going to move forward. Your body doesn't say, hey, you skipped Tuesday, so now you owe me one. It doesn't work like that. Your body just responds to what you give it. Today, water helps, food helps, protein helps, a walk helps, sleep helps, less stress helps, stretching helps. Taking a couple of deep breaths today helps. Your body responds to that right now. Our bodies are incredibly responsive to what we do consistently over time, but they don't give a shit about what we do for one isolated day, even a couple of days. They are always adapting. They are way smarter than we give them credit for. They are always responding. They are always trying to help us. They are always trying to keep us alive. So when we spend all of our time punishing and fighting, we never get on the same team. You are spending so much time fighting yourself yesterday that you are not partnering yourself today. You know that quote, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, but the second best time is today? I think that that is one of the best metaphors for health. Because every time that you delay starting again, every time that you punish yourself for a bad day, you're not protecting yourself. You are simply planting the tree later. You are not tending to the tree. The opportunity is right now. You get to decide if today is the day that you plant or a day is the day that you punish. Walk through something with me, okay? You're driving through a place you've never been before. You are following your GPS. And somewhere along the way, you take a wrong turn. What does the GPS do? It does not start yelling at you, screaming at you, telling you you're an idiot, saying you're a loser. Why did you do this again? You always miss these turns. It doesn't do that. Who knows, with AI progressing, where that will go. But as of right now, it does not create more panic. It's not judging you. It just says, hey, we need to recalculate. It gives you the next available turn. I have never once heard my GPS say, go back and drive the last 5 miles again to prove that you're committed. That's bullshit. It just says, from where you are now, this is the next step. Would that not make such a big difference with our relationship with ourselves if we had less criticism and more recalculating? Based on where we are right now, our step forward is this. You don't need to replay, go back. You're just redirecting. Less of this, oh, how could I fail? How could I miss that turn? How could I screw up like that? And more of, where do I go from here? That's what emotionally healthy people do, not perfect people, because I've never met one of those, but healthy people, they do not waste time trying to rewrite yesterday. They acknowledge it, they own it, they learn from it, and then they keep moving. I tell you guys all the time, you got to meet yourself where you are. And I think sometimes we hear that as lowering our standards. It isn't. Meeting yourself where you are is simply telling the truth. And the truth is that maybe today you do not have the capacity that you had 3 months ago. Or you're in a season where work is demanding so much from you. And maybe you're caring for your aging parents, or you've got a newborn, or you're pregnant, or you're grieving, or you're healing, or you're just tired. Maybe you're just in survival mode. When you are honest with yourself about that, you can recognize where your patterns are coming up. You can acknowledge, oh, this is what I do when I'm in survival mode. I do this every time. That's the difference between a clear day, a cloudy day, and a motherfucking storm. That is the difference between, wow, things are going smoothly, clearly, easy, breezy, everything comes so quickly and simply. Then cloudy days are kind of getting rocked. It's like not easy. Things are a little bit tricky. It's hard to keep things afloat, but I'm doing my best. You know, it's raining outside, but I can still get to work. And then a storm, like a catastrophic storm, where you are not sure if you're going to survive it. That's what our brain thinks. When we're in a survival season, it thinks, I don't think we're going to make it through this. Everything that is not a necessity must go. I must dump all of these things. And what we can do is in the moment, in the storm, maybe we can't come up with a great survival plan. Maybe we can't reinforce the walls or double pane the windows or put in a tornado shelter, but we can recognize when we're in the middle of a storm and we can get curious. What's coming up for me here? What do I keep routinely doing? Am I really in a storm, or does life just feel like a storm? How much of this is what I'm carrying, and how much of it is judgment for myself that I am not doing this perfectly? You're holding yourself to a standard when you're not acknowledging that your capacity has changed. Acknowledging that capacity and saying, this is where I can meet myself, that's how you protect your ability to move forward. Because when we keep pretending that we have the energy for a 10 out of 10 day, and in reality we have the energy for like a 3 out of 10 day, we usually end up doing nothing because we are not being honest with ourselves. Sometimes we have to say, today I got a 3. 3 is all I got. And then maybe 3 out of 3, you know, that's 100%. Wow, I know this day is going to be shitty, and I did a great job at handling a shitty day. Maybe that looks like a 10-minute walk, or getting enough water, or choosing grilled chicken instead of fried chicken in the drive-thru, or getting to bed a little bit earlier instead of forcing yourself to get to the gym. Maybe it's not getting to the gym. Maybe it's doing your workout from home because it takes less time. Maybe today your version of showing up is not going to look as impressive, but it still counts. And we forget that. That is what it means to show up imperfectly. We get so focused on doing everything that we stop celebrating anything. And you don't have to celebrate it, because when you're drowning, nothing feels like a celebration. But I can guarantee you that the version of you that comes out of that will celebrate the shit out of you for showing up, even slightly. Transformation does not happen because of extraordinary days. It happens because of the ordinary ones, the routine ones, and the ones that you do over and over and over. But it also happens when you're really honest with yourself about what hard days look like, and then you're willing to build systems and put those systems in place to help you survive. Those are little gifts you give yourself. Hey, I don't have the capacity right now to thrive here, but if my systems were a little tighter, if I were paying attention, if I were collecting data, I would notice that this 5-minute thing that I did the night before really pays off. It makes such a difference. Even laying out my shoes removes the decision for me. Picking my outfit out the night before takes away any stress of picking an outfit out. It's like the gift of doing laundry for yourself. Like, nobody wants to do laundry. Maybe some people do. People do love doing laundry, but I don't relate. I don't love doing laundry, and I really don't love putting laundry away, but I know how good it feels when everything is right where I need it the next day. So if I have to choose between doing the laundry on a day that's going to feel like an absolute shit show and on a day before the absolute shit show so that I can help myself survive that, I'm going to try to do it the day before. I'm going to try to set up myself with a little bit of self-love so that that day moves more smoothly. And the same thing applies to your relationship with health. You are not going to necessarily feel like you are thriving on the days that you're surviving. But if your days where you're surviving start to look similar, if we can start to notice those trends and those patterns, we can start to build in tiny little gifts to ourselves that make surviving easier. And then our brain starts to realize, okay, today is less about survival than I thought it was because I showed up for myself. I'm keeping myself safe. I thought about the meal that I needed to have, and you know what I did? I picked something from the drive-thru that was going to be really supportive. Or I have already in my Uber Eats app, I have a bunch of healthy meals starred so that I don't even have to open the main menu part. I can just go to the healthy meals that I have starred. I laid out my gym clothes and I put them in the car because I knew I might not have time to get home. Or I said it was okay that I couldn't get to the gym because I can skip the drive, I can skip the frustration of getting out of the car, and I can just bang out a 20-minute workout at home. I can't do my workout today, but I could go for a little mini walk. Or I put snacks in the car because I knew that I was not going to, on my busiest days, I don't remember to eat if I haven't brought something. So I brought something. Gifts like that are gifts to yourself. I drank a little bit of extra water because I know on my hard days I tend to skip my water. I know that when I'm overstimulated after a really long, hard day, it's hard for me to wind down. So I actively focused on trying to work on my bedtime. I put my phone down, I made myself bored, and I understood that my brain was racing, and I let it race for a bit. Those moments build trust, not because they're perfect, but because they're honest, and because they say, this is what I've got today, and instead of wishing I had more, I'm going to love myself, and I'm going to work with myself with what I do have. And that's going to be enough for today. Maybe that is what recovery really is. Maybe that is what showing up as imperfect really is. It's not trying to be a person that you were before life got hard or in easy seasons. It's not about trying to erase last week or trying to make another choice, create another chance, go back in time, jump in the time machine. Maybe it's just simply about looking at today without judgment or punishment or bargaining and asking, knowing where I am, knowing what I have today, what is one or a couple of ways I could show up for myself? That has the power to change your entire life, but it also has the power to take that list of things that feels like a chore and make them gifts to yourself. And once your body realizes that those are really important things, there's a reason I do these things, and it's because it makes me feel safe and it makes me feel better, those stop being negotiable. Those become things that are bare minimum. I need these in my life. I need 5 minutes to myself. When I am at work and everybody's screaming and driving me crazy and I feel myself getting heated, I need to get up and walk away from my desk for a couple of minutes. I need to take my lunch break. I need to actually eat at my lunch break, because when I don't, I go through the entire day and I feel like I'm fritzing out. I need to be able to go to the bathroom. Even though I think that I could get another task done, I could just feel better if I got another task done. No, I actually need to go to the bathroom. That has the power to change your entire life, but it also has the power to make those things so much more important than some checklist or chore list that's going to lead you to weight loss. They're actually going to keep you thriving instead of surviving. They're going to protect you when you feel like you're not able to survive. I was talking to one of you guys on the call today about this idea of like, what in your dream, yes, we're going to pretend that every single person is in a happy marriage, their partner is incredible, but Disney prince version of a man shows up. What does he do? When you have your period, or you've gone through a grief, or you've lost a family member, or you've had a really hard week at school or work, what does this dream Disney prince or princess, what does that person do? How do they show up? Do they show up with like a care package with candles and fluffy blanket, and they show up with your favorite food, and they say, or they make a really healthy, delicious salmon and nutritious food that you need, and they say, baby, it's on me, I thought about it, you don't move an inch, I got you. Sit on that couch for an hour, wrapped up in your cozy blanket, and just take care of yourself. You have the power to do that for yourself. You have the power to say, I need to get outside. I haven't seen the sun today. I would love to walk outside. I would love to just sit on my porch for 5 minutes. When you start treating those little imperfect, boring, small things as gifts to yourself, you start to realize that those are not negotiable. Those are the things that keep you sane. Those are the things that make you survive a hard season. This is how you build trust, rebuild trust after a hard week. It's how you continue to build trust and strengthen the relationship with yourself. Every time that you show back up, you are casting a vote for your future self. So we talk about confidence a lot in this group. We talk about feeling confident, but it isn't about walking into every situation and knowing that you're going to succeed or that you're the flyest in the room. It isn't about being like, everybody's looking at me and I'm amazing. It is not about never doubting yourself. And I don't think it's looking in the mirror and loving yourself every single time you see your reflection. I think that it's quieter than that. I think it is about trust. And trust that no matter what happens, you will not leave yourself behind. You will not betray yourself anymore. You will not sell out your needs for other needs. You will not leave yourself at the bottom of the pack. Think about your closest relationships. The people you love, the people you trust the most, your animals, your nieces and nephews. But think about the people that you trust the most. Why do you trust them? Is it because they have never disappointed you? They have never let you down? They've never made mistakes? That's not why. You know that. You trust them because over time they have shown you something. When things get hard, they stay. When there is a conflict, they work to repair. When life gets messy, they don't disappear on you. Trust is not built because someone is perfect. It is built through repair and how someone continually shows up. Why do we think that our relationship is going to be any different? We tell ourselves, I will trust myself once I stop messing up. But trust is not built that way. Every single time that you decide that you're not leaving yourself there, that's when you build trust. When you come back after a hard day, that's a vote. You cast a vote. I can trust this person. When you drink the water after 3 days of forgetting to drink your water, that's a vote. I trust this person. When you lace up your shoes after a month of them sitting in the closet, that's a vote. Every time that you choose a nutrient-dense meal, that's a vote. Instead of saying like, oh, I haven't been eating right. Every time that you say, I haven't been eating the way that I would want, and you choose to make a decision that aligns with you now, this version of you that you're becoming, you cast a vote. You are casting a vote not for perfection, but for this identity that you are telling yourself, I am someone who keeps coming back. I know that your narrative is, I am someone who always falls off. I am someone who's not good enough. I am somebody who always makes excuses. I am somebody who lets myself down. I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm broken. I suck. You are casting votes for your identity as someone who comes back. You are casting votes for your identity as somebody who keeps going, as somebody who, even after imperfect days, shows up. Your brain is going to start to believe you. Your brain is incredible at collecting evidence. It is made to do that. It is made to look at repetition and familiarity and find safety there. So instead of collecting evidence that you always quit, you start collecting evidence that you always return. That is a very different identity. I always quit versus I've had hard seasons and I always come back to myself. Very different identities. One makes you feel trapped and the other gives you hope. Even in hard seasons, knowing that you're someone who will come back to yourself, that hope is going to change everything. I love coaching you guys, and it is incredible when you lose 50 pounds or when you are changing and seeing the number on the scale move. But it is really cool to stop seeing someone panic after a hard weekend. That's when I know something has changed. It is really cool when you get excited to try something you've never tried before, whether that is a marathon or rollerblading. It is really cool to see you be able to say, I don't need to be perfect at this. I feel peace here. I feel safety here. I feel safety in the unknown. You don't say, I've ruined everything. You say, okay, this was not my favorite weekend. What can I do today? That changes everything. That is emotional maturity. That is something that shows up in the rest of your life. That is someone who is beginning to trust themselves, and that means so much. Because the strongest people, the people who do the best at this, the people that you are looking to emulate, they just recover faster. They don't skip the hard days. They don't avoid grief. They don't avoid stress. They have hard seasons. They take vacations, birthdays, holidays. They do all of that stuff. They just shorten the distance between those moments and standing back up. So what used to take a year takes a week or a month or a couple of days or even the next meal or the next morning, whatever. But that gap, I want you to start asking yourself, how long did it used to take me to recover, and how much time did I spend wallowing, and how do I shorten that? How do I make it less terrifying and less monumental that I am giving myself some sort of small act of care? The fact that we are withholding any acts of care from ourselves until we can do it perfectly makes no sense. How do I shorten this gap? That is not a small thing. It's not just getting back on track. It is transforming the way that you show up, who you are, and how you talk to yourself. A lot of us started this journey because we wanted a different body. And I always say, I didn't know it at the time, but I wanted a new Barbie. I wanted at the end of this journey to just get to order a new one. Smaller body, stronger body, healthier body. There's absolutely nothing wrong with those goals. But after years of doing this, after walking alongside you guys for years, I believe that there is something way deeper under that. I don't think that most of us are trying to lose weight. I think we're trying to find ourselves again. Or for the first time. You know, somebody who can laugh more, who feels more alive, who isn't constantly criticizing themselves, who trusts themselves, who feels present, who believes that they're worthy of care. That lives under the goal that we have for ourselves. Yes, we would like to lose weight, or we would like to look good in a bikini, all of those things, but because we believe that there is a version of us who is worthy, we believe that these behaviors, these changes will unlock something about ourselves. It will allow us to trust ourselves more and criticize ourselves less. You do not have to find her all at once. You don't get her at the end of the finish line. She isn't like a magical trade. You don't get a new Barbie and a new sense of self-worth. You are going to find her in the ordinary moments. When you drink a glass of water or go around the block or have a really shitty couple of months or weeks and you just go to bed on time or have dinner instead of skipping it or choose a healthy dinner instead of something that makes you feel like shit. Where you move your body even though you didn't get the perfect workout in, or you set a boundary with somebody that you love but is kind of acting crazy, or at work you take 5 minutes away from the craziness to refuel and give yourself some space to breathe. These days are going to pass no matter what. Every one of these moments and choices, it's like leaving little breadcrumbs, little reminders that teach you how to come back to yourself. I don't love the phrase getting back on track because it makes it sound like the track is somewhere out there, like you have just wandered off and gotten lost and like you're starting over, and I don't think that that is true. I think every healthy choice you make, no matter how small, is another step towards yourself. I know it doesn't always feel like that because you think, what a dumb, easy choice. Why would that matter? Except that every time you take one little step, you remind yourself that taking those steps is possible, and that builds trust, and that allows you to step towards yourself. There is no getting off track like it's way out there. It's just one decision after the other. When life gets hard, and it will, or it might be right now, but the next time that work gets busy or you get the wind knocked out of you, miss a week, miss a month, don't ask, how did I let this happen? What is wrong with me? Why am I broken? Why do I always suck? Don't ask that. Take a deep breath. Ask yourself, what is one way I can take care of myself? One little way, doesn't have to take a lot of time. And then use that as evidence to keep pulling back into that anchor. You do not have to do it when you are ready. You don't have to do it when you're perfect. You don't have to organize anything. You don't have to set things up perfectly. Just a little thing. All the time we're talking about those little things. I know they sound simple. They sound redundant. They sound like stupid. They sound dumb because they're so simplistic. Why would they count? They count because you're not stepping forward into taking care of yourself at all because you think you have to do it perfectly. You think those little things don't matter. What you're not realizing is that every single one of those little things matters. Because when you step forward into one of them, you give yourself permission to step forward into others. Today is all that your body cares about. You can only focus on the day in front of you. That's where you're going to rebuild trust. That's where you're going to make change. And if you refuse to do anything for yourself, every day is going to feel like that until you start stepping forward. Years from now, when you are sitting on your back porch with a cup of coffee and you have laugh lines and your hair is grayer, you're going to look back on your life, and I promise you, you will not remember when you missed a workout or you had birthday cake or you forgot to track your food. You just won't. You will remember choosing yourself. You will remember the trust that you've been building. You will remember becoming a person who matters to you. You will also remember when you got knocked down, dragged out, beaten up, and you came back to yourself. You will remember that. You will remember when you dug your heels in and stopped being a person who abandoned themselves every time they made a mistake. Because that will change everything. No matter what life brings, I will find a way back to myself. That's the mantra that I want you to have. That is the identity that I want you to know. No matter what life brings, I will find a way back to myself. No matter what life brings, I will prove to myself that I matter. Not because I'm perfect and not because I never get a little bit wonky, but because this is not a finish line relationship anymore. This is a lifelong relationship. The people that we love, the people we truly love, we do not abandon them because they have a hard week. We do not withdraw or rescind our care because they are struggling. We stay and we forgive and we help them up. So, in this relationship with yourself, in this act of self-love, you have to believe that you will come back, and you have to believe that you continue to be worthy even when you're struggling. You have to be the kind of person who whispers to yourself, even on your hardest days, come on, let's go. I got you. Gotta be that person, okay? I think that's it for this week, guys. Thanks for sticking with me. I hope it got somebody somewhere.